Fans, fight fans. This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and we are live to discuss something that has been ongoing. I wanted to reach out with you guys for a second to discuss the. And we've heard a lot of people give praise to Al Hayman. It makes me think of Angel Garcia, father of Danny Garcia, once upon a time saying that he would take a bullet or die for Al Hayman. And who is Al Hayman? Al Hayman is an advisor. He's known to have many boxing ties. He's a former has a former music promotional background. Okay. And he has been responsible for many fights. But as of recent, he's been subject to a lot of fights going south. So we're going to talk about all that. You guys come in, hit that like button. We got Jack Oblesk in the building. Counterpunch to you, Ryan Watterson. He wasn't at the beginning when he bought Boxing 2 free TV to view. Watterson, you're absolutely Night Corn AFC. Hey Kurt, how you doing, man? I caught your live from the start for once. Yeah, man, I'm fresh. I just started. But to answer your question, Ryan, you are absolutely right. When he started, I was one of the guys that was in defense of Al Hayman simply because he was doing something daring. He was doing something different. He was doing something liberating. Al Hayman bringing boxing back to free TV is what our fathers, grandfathers, and so forth remembered. A lot of those huge fights. We had Leonard Duran on regular television. Leonard Hearn, 1, 2, and 3 on regular television. Leonard Hagler on regular television. Hearn Duran on regular television. A lot of these fights, the Muhammad Ali era, these were on regular TV. There was no consortium of free or pay channels that hoarded boxing. And then boxing became such a exclusive thing you had to pay premium for. And if it was a huge fight of interest, you had to pay for pay-per-view. Okay? A lot of that stuff started in the late 80s and early 90s when it started to kick off. And then we had the whole Don King era of Don King's promotions. If you guys can remember that, when Don was this huge boxing promoter. Him and Al Hayman, they were kind of like Coke and Pepsi, So Al Hayman reverted everything back to that point. And you had then Bob Arum, Oscar De La Hoya. Guys were just trying to throw him under the bus. Guys were trying to, in fact, stop him, deter him, cancel him, stop the whole wave of this free TV idea. Let's hit that like button, guys. Let's hit the like button. Once the Paramount situation becomes clear, he could be great again in fitness too. Well, or fitness or finesse. Oh, fairness. Okay, gotcha. I wish the font was bigger on these. It's like the words or the letters are getting smaller. If Paramount cancels its boxing and say DAZN or something buys the PBC, Lucid Power says definitely. Okay, Decker says under Golden Boy we were getting regular fights. Yeah, Golden Boy, they were putting out a lot. And understand though, Golden Boy has shrunk because of Al Hayman. See, if you guys don't know, Oscar De La Hoya, Deontay Wilder, Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, those guys were with Richard Schaefer, and Richard Schaefer left Golden Boy to join the PBC. So a lot of those guys fought under Richard Schaefer, you know, with Golden Boy. Okay. And so obviously though, there was a lot of problems or a lot of disputes with the fighters and Oscar De La Hoya. It was a reason why they left, you know. Look, what people think, and people have to understand, you just don't, all those fighters don't leave unless there was something wrong. Okay. So they must have had some problems with that, or, you know, Al Hayman offered them something better, you know. And what was the major factor with Al Hayman? Okay. Al Hayman had a $1 billion budget. If you guys can remember that, that $1 billion budget for boxing was one of the things that struck interest for all those boxers. So when any boxer hears $1 billion, right? The budget is $1 billion. You bet your ass they want a cut of it. Yeah, they want a cut of this thing. Under Golden Boy, we were getting, okay, shout out Kurt, be safe on the road. Revant, counterpunch to you. As Skip, the problem is that the fighters work for him when he should work for the fighters. As Skip, I think that's ego and position, you know, and knowing how popular you are or how popular he thinks he is. You know, that's what happens when people get power. Power corrupts. Okay, that's a famous saying, and it's also true. Power corrupts. But back to the $1 billion whole incentive. Do you think these fighters would have came to Al Hayman if they knew, okay, that there was no guarantee, like what's reverted now? See, Errol Spence, in his own way, has whistle blew how things work at the PBC. People speculated that since last year. We all knew when Fred from the Barbershop Conversation saying that, hey, I have inside sources that saying this, that saying that they don't have money, that they're broke. You remember the Canelo fight, the $50 million that they had as a budget had to be paid to him because he was the #1 star in boxing. So between him and Floyd, all the money was dried up. So that was the theory. That was the narrative that was going around. Okay? But now, if we seeing them shooting out all these pay-per-views like hotcakes to these fights that are very mediocre. When you got Keith Thurman versus Mario Barrios on pay-per-view, you start to think like, well, what the hell? Wait a minute. What is this really about? That's not a pay-per-view fight at all. Keith Thurman is a former champion. He's not champion. You know, I mean, there is no selling point that warrants, that justifies that shit being on pay-per-view. Nothing. And I'm thinking like, wow, okay, well, why is that? Well, it lines up with what the narrative was, what people were already saying, that, hey, they don't have money over there. So what they do, they leave it up to the fighter to promote themselves to hopefully get the pay-per-view numbers up. So again, when people say, is Al Hayman bad for boxing? I know he wasn't at the beginning, but a lot of things weren't so at the beginning. People don't start off corrupted or bad, you know, not everyone, until it eventually happens. You know, the BS starts, you know, and it's continuing over there. And I'm just really wondering what Oscar De La Hoya is going to say. But then you got to look at Oscar De La Hoya too. He lost 5 or 6 of his fighters to PBC. So you imagine he doesn't have anything good to say about Al Hayman. He lost most of his fighters over there. How old is Al? Waiting for him to get old so boxing can go back to where it was before. Decker, if any of these guys, I mean promotional wise, if they're anything like Bob Arum or Don King, we'll see him for the next 30 fucking years. He's 67. Bob Arum's 90. Don King's 90. Okay? You know, dude, I'll be in my fucking 60s by that time. You know what I mean? Because something about promoting boxing, it gives you longevity, I tell you. And if he's anything like those guys, he's going to be around. So don't hold your breath. Do not hold your breath. You know, they definitely act like they're broke. Well, yeah, they do. Metalbox J, hey Kurt, freezing cold Northern Ireland. Dude, I'm in shorts. So that tells you something. We had a couple cold days, but go figure, we don't now. Very warm in London, Decker says. Cool. Is there any substance to the rumor that Showtime is on his way out? I don't know yet. There's a rumor, but like a lot of stuff are rumors before they come out to be true. You know what I mean? Like seriously. I don't know. I can tell you this. It was a sad day when HBO got out of the business. Yeah, Al Hayman is the boss of all bosses. You know who I think of Al Hayman as? I think of Al Hayman as like Sam Rothstein or Sam Rosenthal. Rosenthal was his name. The guy that inspired the movie Casino. That's how I look at Al Hayman. Al Hayman is like a guy that runs shit, but he's labeled, but he doesn't have that title. You know, you got Richard Schaefer and, all these guys, but he's not a promoter. He's an advisor. Just like Sam Rothstein, they just moved his title somewhere else, but he actually ran the casino. Okay, so that's what he really is. He's the boss of all bosses. Luca Mora, counterpunch to you. Blue Blood claims to be involved with this BLK. Surely not. I don't know. I don't know what Blue Blood is in or without. I know he's a part of boxing. I know he's been in boxing a while. So I don't know. I was a part of Relevant for a while. So, I mean, it could happen. I'm not doubting him. I wish him luck. I wish him all the best. What do you think about Hrgovic's last fight, and can he become world champion? He can, but it depends on who he fights. See, if Hrgovic fights someone like Joe Joyce, he's finished. Someone like Joe Joyce would destroy Hrgovic. Why? Because Joe, unlike Zhilei Zhang, okay, doesn't get tired and can take a punch. Zhilei Zhang took Hrgovic's punches. So Hrgovic's not a real big puncher. He's not. And now we backtrack Hrgovic sparring with Wilder. He was hitting Wilder a lot. And Wilder was telling him, like, come on, give me more. And, I know they had headgear on and this, that, and the other, but people's been knocked out in sparring. And so that displays what? Power. Anthony Joshua was knocked out by Daniel Dubois. But what did that mean? That meant fucking Dubois had power, right? So, so back to Hrgovic. I don't think Hrgovic has all that big punching power because he couldn't hurt big-ass Zhang. It's just Zhang is 40 years old. And since he's 40 years old, he ran out of gas. He's a 6-round fighter. But someone like Joyce would destroy Hrgovic. So again, if it comes down to him fighting someone like Joe Joyce to get the title, he won't be a champion that day. Because Joe Joyce will walk through him. He'll eat those punches like a few Big Macs, by a homeless man and take the will away from Hrgovic and then simply knock him out. That's what he'll do. He'll do the same thing he did to Parker, because Parker was supposed to be a guy that was a quicker fighter. Everybody's quicker than Joe Joyce. He just knows for every 2 punches you land on Joe Joyce, he's going to hit you with that one because he times his shots. That's what makes Joe Joyce so dangerous. But back to Hrgovic, he can beat guys if it's like, if it's like, let's see, he may be able to beat Andy Ruiz. Maybe. And I'm not really sold on he beating Andy Ruiz because I think Andy Ruiz has a good enough chin because he's got his fat back. Okay. So that gave him his beard back. I think that at the end of the day, it depends on who he fights, man. Like I think Frank will beat him. He could probably, I don't even know about Efe Ajagba. Guys like that. Remember him? That guy that got beat by Frank Sanchez? And we really haven't seen him since. You know what I'm saying? We haven't heard anything from Efe Ajagba. I am Nigerian. Let's see. Al Hayman is like Kaiser Soche. A myth never been seen in the flesh, but is like the devil. The greatest trick of the devil ever pulled off was convincing the world that he never existed. The Usual Suspect, that gives me chill bumps just talking about it, Luca Mora, because that when he said that, like that, he's gone. And I was like, oh shit, you know what I mean? He jumped in the car, you know what I mean? But yeah, that is something. I met Joe Joyce, very cool guy. Yeah, Joe Joyce looks like an extremely cool guy that's not full of himself. So you can't. He's not. What's not to like about him? You know what I mean? Pascual Castillo. I'm done with boxing for this year. I won't be watching November or December fights. My money's staying in my pocket. No more supporting any fighter. F Canelo too. Damn. Tell us how you really feel, dude. Counterpunch to you. Vieja, Brija. Joyce versus Hergovic was good fight in the WSB. I don't know if you watched it, but it was close. Well, yeah, and if it's close, that means Joyce definitely takes him in the pros. Do you think Oscar will actually go off on Al? He will. I believe it. I mean, he has a motive. He has a motive, you know? And once more for the PBC fangirls, that boy Kurt, salute. Malik, counterpunch to you, brother. Decker, I heard rumors Al is selling PBC. I don't know, but if he does, I hope whoever buys it cares for boxing. Wilder is a fraud. Al Hayman is bad for boxing. Okay. That's your take on that. Al Hayman is bad for boxing. Well, Al Hayman's real smart. I mean, he knows the numbers. He knows the business, you know, and I'm wondering, see, here's the thing. Since Al Hayman is so Raw Daddy 2000, since Al Hayman is so knowledgeable of the numbers, it does make you think if he's just setting these guys up for failure, knowing that they're going to fail. If you know the numbers so well, you know that what's the selling point for fighters to get actually paid or fighters to make a profit off of pay-per-view, you know, based on what? You know what I mean? Like, where do you know it's going to be versus where do you expect it to be? Like, what does it have to hit? Like, Ruiz Ortiz pay-per-view. So let's say if it does 300,000 pay-per-view buys, does that really do anything for the fighter? You know, or do they just make a fraction of whatever the percentage is, and that's it? You know what I mean? So it's hard to say. It's kind of hard to really gauge because you'd think Al Hayman would know, like, I'm putting this shit on pay-per-view, but I don't think it's going to do the right numbers. But I'm going to do it anyway. You know, it's not causing me any problems. Great card tomorrow, guys. Bivol versus Ramirez. Good UK time, too. Props to Oscar and Eddie's work together. Yeah. You know, they come together when they want to. You know, Oscar does take a jab at Eddie Hearn, is, you know, as much as he can, unless they're doing something together. If you notice, you don't hear all Oscar. I think Eddie Hearn is a good promoter. I think we're going to have a good fight. He's slick. He talks about his fighter. That's when he's there. And I present to him and his fighter, Bivol, I wish them all the best. All the best. But then away from Eddie Hearn, Oscar's like, you know that Edward Hearn guy? He's the worst promoter in boxing. He's ruined Anthony Joshua's career. And he fucked over Canelo. I think Al Hayman is a great businessman. Whoever has him on his team is a blessing. I think business-wise, I think Al Hayman is a good businessman when it comes to fighters that he actually advises and manages. But what happens, here's the catch-22 to Al Hayman. Al Hayman, if he doesn't advise that fighter, I don't think he could give a fuck about him. Like Terrence Crawford, I don't think Al Hayman gave a shit about Terrence Crawford. He didn't care about him leaving Bob Arum or whatever because he was not the first priority. You know, he just, like a guy that comes on just comes on the scene from another promotional company, why should he have vested interest in Terrence? Not saying that he had anything against him, but he knows like certain fighters that he's going to protect, especially free agent guys, because Terrence Crawford being a free agent is not the best thing for promotional companies. Just like Don King would rather not have Felix Trinidad fight Bernard Hopkins, because Bernard Hopkins was his own guy. He promoted himself. Okay? So if it wasn't for that middleweight championship tournament, you know, I don't know if you guys remember, I've been watching boxing a long time, but the middleweight championship tournament was this: Bernard versus Keith Holmes, Trinidad versus Joppy, and then the winners, which was Trinidad and Hopkins, fought each other. That was like a 3-fight tournament. Okay? So, but if it wasn't for that, Don King would have kept everybody in-house like he did before anyway. You know, he would have all of his fighters, you know, like he'd have James Page and who else did he have? He had Mike at one time. But in the welterweight, you know, he had James Page, Anquan Echols, William Joppy, Keith Holmes, Felix Trinidad. He didn't have Fernando Vargas. That he had a lot of fighters. Kurt, there's too much journeymen and gatekeepers in the heavyweight division. It is destroying the sport. Well, Adari, they just need to knock them the fuck out and get them out of there. See, this is the sad, cruel reality of boxing. How do you make someone retire? You have to humiliate them. You have to beat them to the point where you give them, without a benefit of the doubt, never to return to the ring again. You have to do that. And it's a hard lesson, because a lot of these fighters, they only know to fight. They don't know, like, oh shit, let me go create or invest in a restaurant, or, you know, let me put my money in the stock market. They don't know shit about that. They just know about the gym, you know. And it's crazy because this is what happens. All right. When these fighters that act or pretend like they don't know what's going on or don't want to do anything else, they just get beat up. And the older they get, the more damage they return. That's why a lot of fighters get damaged later on in their career, because they don't know when to fucking sit down. You know, and a lot of them are trying or paced for money too. So they have to take these fights, kind of like how Joe Louis had to come back to the sport after he's already retired and wanted to be a professional golf player. So he had to come back at age 38 and fight guys like Rocky Marciano, and he still gave him a pretty good go, because Rocky was garbage. Yes, I said it. Rocky Marciano was garbage. He was not a boxer. He was a puncher. He was tough. He had the will of iron. He had a strong chin. Not really even a strong chin. He was just strong-willed. Okay? He just didn't quit. His mentality was, I never give up. But then if you don't challenge the right type of people, you've in a sense given up. See, they wanted Rocky Marciano and Floyd Patterson to fight so long. And then he retires at 31. Like, who in the fuck retires at 31 years of age? You have to understand and keep this in mind, people. If you're 31 years old and a boxer in the 50s, okay, having 50 fights is really not a lot of fights. You don't believe me? Let's look at records like Sugar Ray Robinson. Sugar Ray Robinson had fucking 200 fights, bro. You know what I mean? That's a record. That's a record from the people that's fighting at the time, and Rocky was fighting at that time. So for him to look at these guys and say, you know what, I'm not fighting these guys. I'm going to retire and go around the world becoming a promotional speaker and shit like that. That's what he did to make money. And he didn't have a banking account, so he kept all the cash in the house and stuff like that. He didn't literally like to fly, which was a shame of how he passed. You know what I mean? That's some scary, horrifying shit. You know, imagine his last days fucking going down in flames in the plane. But, you know, saying all that to say this, he did not want to fight the top guys there and him being in his fucking prime. So, like, when people ask me about Rocky Marciano versus Mike Tyson. Dude, Mike Tyson destroys Rocky in fucking one round, more than likely. I mean, a prime Mike Tyson will destroy Rocky Marciano. Okay. Now, back to Al Hayman. Al Hayman, he is a guy that he takes care of his fighters when in reach. Outsourced, he doesn't care about outsourcing. And he preaches that. He has a nice way of delivering information to his fighters. He doesn't like to do interviews because he's that guy that people go for advice. So for him to give his advice to the public or to a reporter or to an interviewer, it is not going to work. He's one of those silent but deadly guys because you'll never really know what he's going to say. So he doesn't have to be accountable for anything said if he says nothing. He just tells these fighters what to do. And how we know that it's coming from him is because he's the one advising them. He's pulling the strings. So Al Hayman does this. He goes, you know what, Deontay, you're not going to take that fight with Anthony Joshua on the zone because that's disrespectful to you, because that's like Mayweather training money. And I know you don't like Mayweather. And if anybody knows anything about Deontay Wilder, he does not give a shit about Floyd Mayweather. He doesn't like him. He thinks he's a whore. He thinks he needs to settle down. He thinks he's disrespected him as a black man. He should have been for him when he fought Fury the first time. All these things are, Al knows this though. So he didn't really have to tell Deontay, no, you're not taking the fight. He just had to convince Deontay not to take that offer of the zone that Lou DiBella set up for them. Okay, so you had Lou DiBella, Deontay Wilder, Al Hayman, Shelly Finkel, all together with John Skipper and a couple other guys on the zone end, and they were presenting him a package of $100 million. So let me tell you guys something. Let me ask you something. If a guy could talk you out of taking $100 million, don't you think he's good at what he does? He's good at manipulating. So a lot of times he doesn't have to do the Don King, hey, I'm gonna break your leg shit. You touch me, I'm gonna sue you. Or you don't take this fight, baby. You wish you did. That type of stuff. No, he doesn't do it by force. He does it by finesse. That's the difference between Al Hayman and Don King. Okay, Don King will have someone to fuck you up. If you don't want to fight, you better ask Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes didn't want to fight Mike Tyson. Don King, you better take it, baby. That's gonna be the end of you. All in America, baby. Right? But Al Hayman doesn't have to do that because he knows a way. Well, look, I want you to do this, and he'll figure out a way to convince you, hey, this is what you need to do. Just like he did with Errol Spence. You're not taking $25 million because $25 million is an insult to you. Therefore, Errol Spence, didn't want to. He has these guys to the point, which is clever, that they can't do shit without asking Al. Because he's already inbred that in their head. Don't do anything subtle until you talk to me. Because I'm the best guy for you. So, if you ask me, is Al Hayman bad for boxing? He's good for his fighters. But he's terrible for boxing overall. Because he doesn't think outside any box besides the lines of that box that he's created. That's Al Hayman. If it has anything to do with someone else, Oscar's fighter, anybody else that he knows that can't sell and he could give a shit about. So Terrence Crawford is not a real big seller. Neither is Errol Spence, but it doesn't matter because Errol Spence is one of his. So he knows what to do about Errol Spence. Why do you think he fought Mikey Garcia? Because he wanted people to have the illusion, okay, that Errol can sell. Errol can sell with a Mexican crowd because he's fighting what? A Mexican fighter. But Al knew that. Al knew as much as putting Floyd back to the sport fighting Juan Manuel Marquez. Why? Because he knew Mexicans support their fighters. Juan Manuel Marquez was one of the top fighters at that time. He was. And he knew that they're going to support him. Not necessarily black people or the black audience was going to buy it, But he knew that when you take a black and brown and put them together, you will always have something. If you guys don't believe me, look at the the Great White Hype with Samuel Jackson, Peter, Damon Wayans, Jamie Foxx, right? Comedy, but it made sense. And then that was the premise. Like, look, people don't really like black on black fights. They want to have like somebody like the Great White Hope. Why do you think Canelo and Mayweather did so well? Because Canelo was the redheaded guy. Contrast, Floyd Mayweather was not the redheaded guy. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, Al is bad businessman because Bud don't know how business works. Miss T, that's not the case. Bud knows exactly how business works because Bud is accustomed to good business practices. See, there's no other promoter or advisor or manager will have anybody fighting without a salary. That's fucking unheard of until now. So let me shut you down right now. Okay? Talking about, oh, he doesn't know business practices. No. Terrence Crawford knows exactly what he's doing. He knew what he was doing. He knew, look, there's a good chance I will get fucked. So when someone gave him another option, he presented that option. And when he found out that they wouldn't take that option, he really started getting skeptical because he's like, well, who the fuck would turn down $25 million a piece? Who would do that? That is more than Oscar De La Hoya made against Felix Trinidad, and it was a unification fight. For the same fucking welterweight division. It was just in the 90s, 1999, September 18th. Trinidad made $7 million. De La Hoya made 20. Okay, so no. And that's guaranteed. That wasn't because of pay-per-view sales. That was a guaranteed purse. So stop. Any fucking body else would have done this. And I don't know why. This is my thing. I don't have anything against Al Hayman per se. But I can't stand people that act like Al's doing a good fucking job now for doing something unheard of. Yes, free TV was unheard of once upon a time, right? He brought it back. But at no fighter takes a fucking fight with not a guarantee. That has to be the worst type of business practice ever. If you can talk a guy out of taking $100 million fucking dollars, you can't be good at what you do, or you're very good at what you do. But that wasn't good for the fighter. It was not good for the fighter at all. Okay, that was a shitty thing for him to do because it was selfish. Why? It was selfish simply because he already knew that I can't control DAZN and what DAZN does. I don't have power over that. I can't put my part. I'm in unfamiliar territory simply because I don't know how things work at DAZN. If it's all a guarantee and it's a subscription service for every month, I don't know that platform well enough to even make moves. I have to wait on someone else. I'm not used to waiting on anyone else. That's Al Hayman. Al wasn't going to do that. That's why, look, I'm going to talk Wilder out of this shit. I'm going to talk Spence out of this shit. Why? Because I don't want, and I'm unfamiliar with that, and I don't want to do business with anybody that I look at as my parallel. I'm the fucking top of the mountain over here. And I'll be damned, I'm going to let my fighters go over to fight on some other platform without my say-so. That's power. And that's also ego. Okay? Let's see how we go. How old is Fury again? He's 34, looking like he's 47, dude. Spence needs to grow a pair and tell Al that Al Hayman Bud is next. Well, Bud is not an idiot. Bud is not an idiot. See, understand something. If Bud takes his fight, you can't expect. Now let's look at it another way. You can't expect Bud Crawford to accept a fight with no guarantee when he's not accustomed to ever taking a fight with no guarantee. You know, that's like telling a person that's used to a $20 an hour salary, right, as a retail person at Sears or Costco, to, hey, go be a server and you'll make $20 an hour serving or more. They're not going to do that because they're not accustomed to that. People do what they're accustomed to. A damn hedge fund was going to give them 25 million piece up front. Miss T, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know why that's true, Miss T? is because Errol Spence did not object. Kurt, Derek Chisora, Kubrat Pulev, Manuel Char, David Allen, Carlos Takam, Gerald Washington, Robert Helenius need to leave boxing forever. Well, I think I think it's a market for all of those guys. I think they just need to all fight each other and leave everybody else alone. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. Remember when the Al Hayman stands told us Canelo would move to BBC permanently? Yeah, I mean, that was their offer, but you know, that was the thing about Canelo. Canelo wanted to do what he wanted to do, and he did that. Canelo did whatever he wanted to do, and he showed you that. It's like his father, John Fury. The guy's 57 and looks 75 to me. Well, Mike Tyson looks like the little brother of his daddy. He looks old as fuck. Off of the 20%, man. Get the fuck out of here. Y'all sound crazy. Know nothing about business. Well, Miss T, do you know anything about boxing? And my question to you is, why are you in so defense of something that's never been heard of? Hayman's an expert with other people's money. Yeah, other people's money, but then here's the thing. Could he project that? Can he project what Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence will do? You know, but see, here's the thing. This is what I don't like. This is what I don't like. Al Hayman is, and a lot of times, a lot of these fighters though, they went with Al Hayman, okay? They went with Al because he was black. Let's just be real. He was black. They went with him because he was a black promoter and a black man in power. And if you're a pro-black person, you respect that. So let's just call it what it is. They went to him because he was black. That's why, you know, Floyd, I want to thank Al Hayman. I want to thank Al Hayman for making this possible. I'm like, you want to thank Jesus Christ? Elijah Muhammad, Allah. No, first of all, I want to thank Al Hayman. You know, Errol Spence said it to Oscar De La Hoya. You don't like black fighters, bro. I don't know how true that is, because he did one of his people said some racist shit or whatever. But I'm saying all that to say this: the reason they went to Al Hayman is because of his skin color. Point blank. Off topic, but there's a new boxing film called Father Stew. Yeah, I seen it. It's pretty good, man. It's good. Watch it on Netflix. Very, very good movie. B wanted to know where the money was coming from. If they were legit, why didn't they say where the money were legit when they reached out for the $50 million? Miss T, let me ask you a question. I want a yes or no answer, all right? Are you a Deontay Wilder fan? I just want to know, are you a Deontay Wilder fan? Will said, and Al used that and sold them out. First, I want to thank God because he makes me great. Actually, it has been several times. Yes, I know about boxing. Okay. Actually, it has been done several times. Yes, I know about boxing. No, I asked you, are you a Deontay Wilder fan? I agree 100% with you, Kurt. Respect to you with your daily hard work and dedication. Counterpunch from South Texas. Raul Gallardo. Appreciate you, brother. More Mayweather impressions, please. Well, we've heard him say Al Hayman from, you know, when Floyd was younger, he was a little bit more wittier. I like to tell you, Al Hayman. Kind of sounds somewhat like Danny Garcia. You know, Danny Garcia's a little slower. I want to thank Al Hayman, his daddy. I want to thank Al Hayman. Coke throat. You know, now he's like, I want to thank Al Hayman for helping me throughout my journey in my career. And I'm still doing good business with Al Hayman. So when you talk about Al Hayman, you talk about Floyd Mayweather. When you talk about Floyd Mayweather, you're talking about Al Hayman. Yeah, you know. Yes, okay. Now, I'm glad you said that, Miss T. All right. Wasn't it the $50 million that they offered Anthony Joshua? Now, I'm agreeing with you, by the way, but I'm going to make this point since you brought that up about where was it coming from. The $50 million, okay? The $50 million. Hold on. That shit's got. Hold on a second. Let me plug my shit up before it goes dead on you guys. But the $50 million that they offered Anthony Joshua, they wanted to know the contract to it. They had no contract. They did have a deadline, which was 24 hours, or was it 48 hours? But then they just wanted him to say yes to something that they didn't clarify. So, do you think that was right versus this? Because I definitely know both of them were full of shit in that regards. Because you could say, all right, the $50 million was in the bag, he said, Kurt. Well, when they asked questions about the contract, supposedly there was no contract. You know? Yeah, Floyd's a lot calmer now. Kurt, you think Black is laundering money? I don't know. No, it wasn't right, Kurt. Normal negotiations don't start off on social media. They wanted him to say yes or no. And he said, let's roll. When let's roll means, okay, let's go or whatever. But then they were like, send me the contract or whatever. And they didn't. You know, and then here's the thing. They could have debunked that shit years ago. You know, whatever email that Deontay sent Eddie Hearn and all that shit, that could have been, you know. But no, but for on the in the support or the defense of Errol Spence, though, if Terrence Crawford was looking for fucking transparency, hold on a second. Okay, so if, like, listen, if Terrence Crawford's whole thing was transparency, I think the best thing he should have done is been total transparent with them. So I will say that. And I said that at the beginning. See, with Terrence Crawford, when he said, I walked away from that deal because I wanted total transparency. Well, when they asked him where was the money coming from, and he said some type of fucking fund, well, that's when you get specific. Like, listen, because if you want to convince somebody to go in with you, to fight you, and you take this money, you and him take this money, you know, you got a bag, 2 bags of money that you're both going to split up the middle, 50 million, 25, 25. At least you could do is say where the fucking shit's coming from. I don't know what the big secret was. You know, that's the whole thing. But if it's a guarantee on that, that's for the guarantee. So that's still rather, you know, that's misdemeanor shit as opposed to anything else. You know? No, he doesn't deserve a title shot, but it's Tyson Fury after all. Tyson Fury does what the fuck he wants to do. I'm sorry. I mean, what do you want me to do? What do you want from me? You know? But yeah, Terrence Crawford, if he wanted full transparency on the defense of Errol Spence, he should have told Errol Spence, the guy he's wanting to fight, hey, where the fuck it's coming from. You know, because you know what'll happen. And you know, I look, this is what I do. I think of what other people think that are already biased, and I'm not. Because I see both sides. I see, well, Errol Spence, where that money coming from? Well, you ain't trying to tell me, what, you trying to fuck me or something? Motherfucker. You know, whereas, you know, Terrence, you look, man, you know what I mean? We got the money in the bag. So you want to go over there and tell Al that call, you know, you guys know each other. And I don't know if they didn't know, you know, because I guess because Terrence did tell Al, like, you know these people. So Al knows them. You know what I mean? So Al, why don't you go over there and see if, you know what I mean? If you guys can just get this happening and we can make this fight with $20 million, $25 million. You know what I mean? It's simple math. Exactly that part. You can't come up with 50 million, but you got to tell me who it's coming from. That's the problem. Well, yeah, I mean, but again, does if he said they know him, I don't think Terrence said some shit like, hey, you know these guys, but I ain't telling you who they are. Like, who the fuck does that? Like, that's some bitch shit. X Ace 99X. So I do understand that, but if I'm a fucking prize fighter and I hear $25 million, I want to know it and want to get down to the bottom of it. And he say all money ain't good money. Well, that's some shit that Al Hayman told Errol Spence. See what I mean? See, that type of shit. That type of thing gets me. All right? Hold on. Hold on, guys. Hold on a second. Oh, I'm sorry. You're good. You're welcome. Yeah, so that's where I'm at, with the whole thing. I think Al Hayman knew, and I think just probably he didn't want to expose who these people were, but to let Errol tell it that he didn't know where the money was coming from. But the question is, we all know that Errol Spence don't call or don't run anything. He ain't running shit. So it's not up to him. It's not up to him. It's up to Al. So the question is, did Al know the guys that Terrence Crawford or whoever these people were? Did Al Hayman know those guys? That's the question you ask yourself. So I think Errol needs more transparency with Al Hayman, especially, we know Terrence Crawford knows because he was approached with this offer, right? So it started with him. He told the information to Errol Spence, but didn't want to tell Errol Spence about specifics. Okay, well then he calls Al, and then Al, I believe all money ain't good money. Well, T, don't regurgitate shit you hear from somebody that doesn't want you to take money, especially when it doesn't come from them. See, anybody will tell you that if they don't want you to take a deal. See, that's the whole thing. If they don't want you to take a deal, if I'm Al Hayman and I know that money's not coming from anybody that I know and I don't have any control over, why in the hell would I want my fighter to take a deal like that where I don't have full control over? Oh, no, that's not it. So, but yeah, if I'm an advisor, I wouldn't try to sell my fighter from not taking a guarantee, because the first thing I would want a fighter to do is to feel secure that they're getting paid. That would be my first priority. So I would have never advised anybody like that unless I had an interior motive on why I didn't want my fighter to take a certain amount of guaranteed money. See what I mean? Because see, once the fight's over, it's over. Once that pay-per-view's done, it's done. You can't get residual pay-per-view after pay-per-view's already done, because it will be shown on another platform. If it's on Showtime, it'll show on Showtime the next week. So you're not going to get paid again and again and again. If it does shitty numbers, you're not getting paid. But if you got the guarantee, you already know what the guarantee is. Point blank, period. PBC Syndicate, look out. I know, right? Man, I've been saying that since I knew about money. I even tell my kids that. Well, I know all money ain't good money, but it's prize fighting. It's boxing. Because even if I don't see a situation where, all money's not good money. I mean, if that's what the money's for, that's who's going to get the money. I don't get it. I don't know. Kurt, did you get your handle yet? Yeah, I heard about the handle. I haven't got it yet. I haven't done it yet. But I think one's already generated for you. Bud should have told him who the money was coming from. If it was an honest source, Spence would have been interested. I guess. But then again, Karma, I believe that Al Hayman knew them. I just don't think he wanted to tell Errol Spence because he knew that Errol Spence is not his own boss. So I definitely believe, I'm not for certain, right, but I do believe that Terrence Crawford told Al Hayman who these guys were if he was going to say so much and say, hey, you know who these guys are. But I'm not saying any names. I don't even think people would do that. And if he did that, you know that's bullshit and that's not transparent at all. So you couldn't expect anyone else to be transparent with you when you're not transparent with them. Man, I'm at a cafeteria getting something to eat with my dad. So it was probably Eddie Hearn. He got Saudi money. It might have been. And if it was Eddie Hearn, because, you know, he gets those huge site fees. You know Al Hayman won't be interested in that because then, you know, it will be Eddie Hearn's face on there that's responsible for one of the biggest welterweight matches in this era. And I don't think Al wants that to happen. Okay, coming on the second win. He doesn't want that to happen. Man, I don't know what I'm having. You know what? I'm going to go with some... what am I going to go with? I guess some fish would probably be best for me. Beans, rice. Chicken looks good. Baked chicken. You guys want to check it out? Check it out. Alright, so they have liver, sausages, beans, rice. Boom. You got chicken, right? A steak with gravy. I think that's a ribeye, I want to think. Yeah, it's ribeye steak. It's kind of dry. I'm not, you know, I'm a ribeye guy, but it looks kind of dry. Bars. So, what kind of fish is that? Cajun catfish? Yes, ma'am. Let me get some Cajun catfish. Let me get some beans and rice over there. Kurt, you excited for Plant versus Benavidez? I am, man, because I'm excited that these guys are actually fighting each other. Thank you very much. Because if anything, you know, they could like give Canelo a break and make their own legacy for once. Is that rice under there? Is that rice under there? Okay. Yeah, that'll work.
Yes, sir. Can I help you?
Oh, yes, ma'am. I would love some broccoli, please.
Okay, you like cheese?
No, no cheese.
Okay, and what else?
Even though cheese is the bomb, I'm not saying I don't like it. I just know I'm not gonna
Oh,
eat
yeah,
it.
it's good though.
What kind of corn is that? Sweet corn?
Which one?
That.
Sweet.
Is that sweet?
Is the corn sweet, Mr. Robert?
Not sweet.
No.
All right. Well, let me get some of it then.
You can eat corn. I eat corn grits.
Oh, okay. Corn grits.
That's how you corn like that. Eat corn grits. Fried corn.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Say Kurt. Okay. Let's see what we want. What we want. Give me some of that cornbread right there in the middle.
Okay.
You know what? I'll take that back. Give me that garlic bread right there. Boom. Kurt, streaming. There you go. Multitasking, man. That's how you do it. Because I wanted to reach out to you. Okay. Let me get. Can I grab one of these cakes? Can I grab one of these cakes? Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. Oh man, that cheesecake looks good. Wait a minute. No, I'm gonna get the cheesecake this time. All right, here you go. Cool. The thing about this pay a card. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this plate. Look at this shit. They got Cajun catfish, beans and rice, garlic bread, broccoli, and corn. Yeah. I'm gonna eat the cornbread. Nah, I've changed it to garlic bread. A little better for me. Damn, I got an ice cube in my fish. Ain't that a fish? knocking my flavor away. Bro, you're eating more than Andy Ruiz when he fought Josh for the second time. Oh, that ain't right. You know he was at places like this though. I would like the double ribeye steak with an apple pie, cheesecake, red velvet, corn.
By yourself?
I'm over here with my dad.
Okay, but no ladybug with you?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, dear. Thank you, dear. All right. Yes, ma'am. Aha, no, Kirk. Don't do it. I want double garlic bread. Give me macaroni and cheese spaghetti. Oh, shit.
Hey, hey,
Hey, what's going on?
not much. How you, sir?
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty well. Hold on, get a nap. I dropped my earbud and in my pie. Andy $1 million. Andy Ruiz $50 million to fight AJ. I want $50 million to fight AJ on her trilogy. I just need a napkin, baby. That's it.
Napkin?
Just a napkin. Just clean this off. Should go to the bathroom. Okay. I took Deontay Wilder handle. Do you think the LDBC will be mad? Yeah, Drew Titan's father. Especially Drew Titan. He'll want you to die in a car fire. Oh, be died in a car fire. I'm like, what? But yeah. But yeah, guys, the infamous Al Hayman, I think he loves the fighters. I think he takes care of the fighters that's in his stable, but for everybody else, he's absolutely horrible and could care less about. He treats everybody with, I think a certain level of respect, but in the same token, I think he does the bare minimum for everybody outside of that realm. You know. So that's my take on Al Hayman. Thank you all for coming on. God bless you. And everyone has been counterpunched. Peace.